Hello and welcome. I'm Ethan Ryder. I'm talking about the Arizona State Sun Devil basketball team. They've had a lot of changes over the last month. If you're a Sun Devil fan, there's been ups and downs with players committing to the draft and new recruits coming in. We're going to take a look at first the ins and outs that Arizona State Sun Devils have had. You look at first one of the biggest recruit Arizona State has ever had, surpassing James Harden, Josh Christopher. Also, Marcus Bagley coming into the fray. You have Josh Christopher, who is the number 10 overall recruit, and Marcus Bagley, who is the number 30 overall recruit, both from ESPN respectively. Now, you look at the possible outs. All three of Romello White, Remy Martin, and Alonzo Verge have all have all declared for the NBA draft. All of them have remained their NCAA eligibility as well. So it is possible that all three of them could come back. Now let's look at the first possible lineup that ASU might have this year. So this is if Romello White returns, but Remy Martin and Alonzo Verge would stay, but Remy Martin would not return. So we're looking at Alonzo Verge, Josh Christopher, Marcus Bagley, Kamani Lawrence, and Romello White. Romello White is a big part of this ASU team. Romello White led the team in rebounds and blocks last year and was a big presence down low. And then you're looking at Alonzo Verge coming back for the sixth man of the year, and then the two recruits in Marcus Bagley and Josh Christopher, and then Kamani Lawrence, who started 23 out of 30 games last year and was a former four-star recruit. Let's look at the next possible lineup for ASU. This would be if Romello White doesn't return, but Remy Martin does. Remy Martin was one of the most electric players in the Pac-12 last year, was in the running for Pac-12 Player of the Year against Pritchard from Oregon. He had 33.8 minutes per game and 19.1 points per game, both leading the team, and 4.1 assists per game, which also was first on the team. Now, the most important part of this lineup is Jalen Graham. He would come into the lineup in place of Romello White. With 29 blocks last year, he was second just to Romello White. He had 10.9 minutes per game, and he had a 68.9% field goal percentage, which was first on the team. And then the other three players would slot in just like the last lineup. Let's take a look at the next one. We have Romello White and Remy Martin both returning, which would be big for the Sun Devil hoops. You have Remy Martin and Romello White coming in, and the three slotting in just as they were. Now, this is a big lineup just because of the star power that you have offensively. Marcus Bagley might not start off of the bat with this lineup. You might see Alonzo Verge come in, but the likes of Josh Christopher, ball-heavy player, five-star recruit, 29.4 points per game last year at Mayfair High School. Marcus Bagley did have 20.7 at Sheldon High School, also leading his team to a state championship. Let's take a look at the next lineup that might be possible. This would be if Alonzo Verge stays. Now, maybe Romello White and Remy Martin were the first players to declare to the draft. Then Alonzo Verge followed, but let's say Alonzo Verge comes back and Remy Martin and Romello White decide to test the waters and not come back. So this would be a very awesome lineup with the three forwards down here, players that are going to be very offensive minded. Alonzo Verge would probably take a lot of the playmaking ability as shooting guard. Josh Christopher would be a lot of scoring points as well. This is just a lineup that would be very strong all around. Jalen Graham, once again, would be the question of this lineup if he can't step in and be that starter. Now, let's take a look if Verge leaves. Now, this would be if all three of the players that declared for the draft left. Now, this isn't the most likely outcome to happen, but if it does, you would probably see Jalen House step in. Maybe one of the transfers, and Holland Woods is one of the transfers that came in averaging around 17.7 points per game at Portland State last year. He would maybe come in and maybe try to gain eligibility. He hasn't done so far. NCAA is still working out those transfer possibilities. Also, Luther Muhammad coming from Ohio State as well. Jalen House last year struggled a little bit offensively as a former four-star recruit. He did have 1.3 steals per game last year, though. That is third on the team. He was a pest defensively there every single time he can be, trying to break up play, and just a really high motor and high work rate that really helped out the Sun Devil team. But this would be the worst lineup that could possibly happen. Maybe not the worst, but the lineup that Sun Devil fans would least want to happen, just because there's not that much depth at that point guard position. You might see Josh Christopher's brother, Caleb Christopher, come in. Maybe Holland Woods if he's able to come in. But this just isn't quite that strong of a lineup, given the other lineups that we show. Even if this does happen, however, the likes of a ball-heavy Josh Christopher could really carry this team to high heights, especially if Marcus Bagley can step in and be the starter that some think that he can be. Either way, Sun Devil basketball has a very bright future, especially with this man, Josh Christopher, Entertainer of the Year by Allen Iverson's group. He is a very strong player coming in, of course, the strongest overall recruit. Marcus Bagley, a very strong recruit as well. Sun Devil Hoops is definitely on the up, and it's looking to heat up in Tempe.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going. All I know where I came. When it's sun sets, I hope that you remember my name. I don't know where you at, I don't know where you stay, when I run this money up, everything is gonna be okay.